The Rocky Mountains. Just saying the name conjures up images of this vast, untamed wilderness, right? Majestic peaks scratching the sky, ancient forests whispering secrets, and a silence so deep, it feels like it could just swallow you whole. Millions of us are drawn to their beauty every year. We go looking for adventure, a bit of solitude, or maybe just to soak in nature's sheer grandeur. But what happens when that beauty turns deadly? For some, these mountains become a final, puzzling resting place. People walk into these incredible landscapes, and sometimes they're just gone, never seen again. Now we hear the explanations. Tragic accidents, getting lost, run-ins with wildlife. But what if those don't always tell the whole story? What if something far stranger, something almost unnatural, is at play up there? Think about this. In just one 3-year span, a single park, Rocky Mountain National Park, had 341 search and rescue incidents. Many are resolved, thankfully. But some? They just leave behind haunting questions and whispers of things we can't quite explain. The Rockies are stunning, no doubt about it. But they're also inherently dangerous, and it's easy to forget that. We're talking about a range that stretches over 3,000 miles, all the way from New Mexico up to the northern bits of British Columbia. The terrain is rugged, the weather can flip on you in a heartbeat, and the sheer scale of it all means getting disoriented can happen fast, putting you in real peril. Every single year, search and rescue teams get called out hundreds of times. Between 2018 and 2020, Rocky Mountain National Park alone officially reported 341 search and rescue incidents. That number is already staggering, but it probably only scratches the surface when you think about the entire Rocky Mountain range. These rescue operations? They're often massive. We're talking dozens of people, dog teams, helicopters in the air, all scouring these huge, unforgiving landscapes, often in terrible conditions. And while most of these missions end with a successful rescue, or at least a recovery that gives families some answers, a stubborn, unsettling number just don't. These are the cases that eat away at investigators and families. The ones where people vanish with a completeness that's just baffling. The National Park Service actually keeps a list of cold cases, some going back decades, where it's like the wilderness just opened up and swallowed people whole, leaving nothing behind, or only clues that make things even weirder. The official stats for missing people in U.S. national parks can be pretty alarmingly. One report suggested around 1,000 people go missing in national parks every year, though many are found. Another source mentioned that in 2020 alone, over 49,000 missing persons cases were opened in national parks, a figure that likely covers a whole range of situations and outcomes. Often, disappearances get chalked up to natural hazards, sudden blizzards, bad falls, getting turned around, or wildlife encounters. And yeah, these mountains demand your respect. But what about when experienced hikers vanish from trails they know, like the back of their hand? When kids disappear in a split second? When massive searches turn up absolutely nothing? That's when the usual explanations start to feel a bit thin and darker. More unsettling questions begin to creep in. What really happens when someone steps off the path and into the silent embrace of these peaks, never to be seen again? The history of people vanishing in the Rockies is long, and it's packed with some seriously chilling puzzles. One of the earliest, and frankly one of the most disturbing cases from Rocky Mountain National Park, is that of little Alfred Beilhartz. He was just 4 years old. It was July 3, 1938, an Independence Day weekend camping trip. The Beilhartz family was near Fall River. Alfred was hiking with his dad, and then one moment he was there, the next, just gone. Right away, a huge search kicked off. Park rangers, volunteers, even the civilian conservation corps, everyone was out looking. They brought in tracking dogs, and those dogs followed Alfred's scent for about half a mile up a trail. Then, it just stopped, abruptly, like he'd been plucked into the air or something. They even dammed and dragged the nearby Fall River, thinking he might have tragically fallen in, but there was no sign of him. And then, the story takes an even stranger turn. Later that same day, a couple was hiking about 6 miles away and nearly 3,000 feet higher up, near the top of Mount Chopin. They reported seeing something really odd. A small boy, matching Alfred's description, perched on a high, dangerous ledge. This spot was ominously known as the Devil's Nest, and it was so hard to get to, they figured there was no way a little kid could have reached it by himself. When they tried to climb towards him, the boy was gone. Despite new searches in that specific area, they never found a trace of Alfred there either. Later, there were some unverified reports. Someone thought they saw a boy looking like Alfred with a man in Nebraska. And months after that, a truly cruel hoax. A ransom note demanding $500 for his return, which the police quickly dismissed. Alfred's parents always believed he was abducted. Investigators, though, leaned towards the idea that he fell into the river and drowned, even with no evidence to back it up. To this day, Alfred Beilhartz is still missing. His disappearance has become a cornerstone of Rocky Mountain National Park's unsettling folklore. That image of a small child, all alone in a place called the Devil's Nest, just lingers as this deeply disturbing puzzle. Time hasn't made the Rocky Mountains any less capable of hiding these baffling disappearances. More recent cases keep echoing those unsettling mysteries from the past, leaving investigators and families desperate for answers the wilderness just won't give up. Take Rudi, for instance. He was a 27-year-old experienced winter mountaineer from West Germany. In February 1983, Motor set off on a 2 to 3 night solo ski mountaineering trip. He was planning to cross Thunder Pass into Rocky Mountain National Park. When he didn't come back, his roommate reported him overdue. Search operations started fast, with both Larimer County Search and Rescue and Rocky Mountain National Park teams involved. They found Motor's food cache at the mouth of Box Canyon, and not far from there, a snow cave with his sleeping bag and other gear. These were big clues, but despite hunting for 4 days, made harder by over a foot of fresh snow, Rudi himself was nowhere to be found. For almost 4 decades, what happened to him was a total mystery. Then, in August 2020, a hiker stumbled on skeletal remains in the Skeleton Gulch area, near some avalanche debris, an area that was actually part of the original 1983 search zone. More investigation in the summer of 2021 turned up skis, poles, boots, and personal items thought to be Motor's. Dental records were inconclusive, but officials believe the remains are his, finally closing a nearly 40-year-old cold case. But you still have to wonder, how could an experienced mountaineer, whose gear and shelter were found, vanish so completely that his remains weren't discovered for 37 years, even though they were in the original search area? Let's jump to February 2019 and the disappearance of 70-year-old James Pruitt. Pruitt, an avid hiker from Tennessee, left the Glacier Gorge trailhead in Rocky Mountain National Park on February 28th for a day hike. His car was found in the parking lot on March 3rd, but nobody knew his intended route. An extensive search was launched, but heavy snowfall, almost 2 feet, had piled up since he was last heard from, really complicated things, wiping out any potential tracks. Despite numerous coordinated searches throughout 2019, with teams on the ground and sometimes canine units, not a single trace of James Pruitt has ever been found. He just vanished into the snow-covered landscape, leaving only his car and a whole lot of unanswered questions. More recently, in September 2023, 49-year-old Chad Palanche, another experienced hiker, went missing in Rocky Mountain National Park. He set out from the North Inlet trailhead for a tough solo trek, but didn't return as planned. A massive search operation using helicopters, drones, and ground teams scoured the rugged terrain for 2 weeks. Yet, like so many others, no sign of Chad Palanche or his equipment was found, and active search operations were eventually called off. These aren't just a few random incidents. They seem to point to a pattern. Individuals, often with a lot of outdoor experience, disappearing under circumstances that really stretch the limits of what we think is a normal explanation. The wilderness is vast, and conditions can be brutal. But the sheer completeness of these vanishings, the total lack of solid clues despite intense searches, pushes some people to look beyond the usual answers and into the realm of the truly unknown. So, what happens when the usual explanations just don't cut it for these baffling disappearances? Well, alternative ideas start to pop up. One of the most well-known, and pretty controversial, in recent years is the missing 411 phenomenon. This was largely brought into the public eye by a researcher and former police officer named David Paulides. Paulides has gathered thousands of cases of people vanishing from national parks and wildlands all over North America, including the Rockies. He says he's identified some unusual and recurring patterns in these disappearances. Now, it's really important to say that these are observations and theories from Paulides and his followers. They are not officially recognized or confirmed patterns by law enforcement or the National Park Service. According to Paulides' research, a lot of these puzzling cases share some strange things in common. For instance, victims often disappear near water, creeks, rivers, lakes, or in and around boulder fields. Another thing he points to is disappearances happening near areas with berry bushes. Some cases reportedly occur in places that have historical or cultural significance for Native American tribes. Other unsettling characteristics highlighted in Missing 411 research include sudden, severe weather rolling in right after someone goes missing, which often messes up immediate search efforts. Search dogs, usually incredibly good at their job, are sometimes reported as being unable to pick up a scent, or they lose it abruptly in weird places. In some instances, if victims are found, they're discovered in areas that had supposedly been searched thoroughly before, sometimes more than once. Occasionally, victims are found deceased from exposure, but bizarrely, they're missing clothes like shoes or jackets, things that are never found, even in harsh conditions where you desperately need them. In a few rare cases, people found alive reportedly have amnesia about what happened or tell strange, disjointed stories. Paulides himself usually steers clear of giving definite explanations. Instead, he focuses on presenting these clusters of data and the unusual bits within them, leaving it up to the reader or listener to draw their own conclusions. The Missing 411 books and documentaries have definitely gained a big following, with lots of people speculating on what could be causing these alleged patterns. Everything from unknown predators to more out there, paranormal theories. Skeptics, on the other hand, argue that these are just coincidences, misinterpretations of data, or simply the tragic, though sometimes strange, realities of people getting lost or dying in vast, dangerous wilderness areas. They point out that national parks, almost by definition, often have water, boulders, and berry patches, and that human error and the unforgiving nature of the wild are enough to explain most disappearances, however heartbreaking. No matter where you stand on the Missing 411 research, it's undeniably tapped into a deep sense of unease about unsolved disappearances in wild places. It makes you wonder, are there truly inexplicable common threads linking some of these cases, hinting at forces or phenomena we just don't understand yet? Or is it just our human need to find patterns and meaning when faced with random, heartbreaking tragedy? The debate is ongoing, but for those who've looked into the unsettling details, the Rocky Mountains seem to have more than their fair share of these deeply puzzling vanishings. When logic hits a wall and massive searches turn up absolutely nothing, where does the human mind go? Often, It ventures into the realm of the extraordinary. The Rocky Mountains, with their awe-inspiring grandeur and inherent mystery, have become a breeding ground for all sorts of paranormal theories, trying to explain the most baffling disappearances. Now, these are speculative, of course, and they lack hard scientific evidence, but they hang around in local lore and among folks who believe something beyond our current understanding is at play. One idea that pops up quite a bit is interdimensional portals. Proponents suggest that certain remote spots in the Rockies, maybe places with unusual geology or weird energy readings, could act as gateways or thin spots between our reality and other dimensions. The thinking is that people who vanish without a trace might have accidentally stumbled through one of these portals. That would explain why no physical sign of them can be found, no matter how much an area is searched. It sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but for some, it's a chillingly plausible answer for the seemingly impossible. Then you've got cryptids. The vast, largely unexplored wilderness of the Rockies has long been whispered to be home to unknown creatures. The most famous one, naturally, is Bigfoot or Sasquatch. There are plenty of anecdotal accounts, though often unverified, from hikers and woodsmen who say they've caught fleeting glimpses of large, hairy bipedal creatures, heard strange howls echoing through remote valleys, or found massive unidentifiable footprints in mud or snow. Could some disappearances be the result of an encounter with such a creature, one that's keen on staying hidden from us? Beyond Bigfoot, Native American traditions of the region also talk about other beings. For instance, Shoshone folklore mentions the Nimaragar, a legendary race of aggressive, small people, sometimes called tiny people eaters, said to live in mountainous areas and use poisoned arrows. While these are legends, some paranormal investigators see parallels between these old stories and the unsettling nature of some modern disappearances. Extraterrestrial activity is another theory that surfaces, especially if a disappearance happens around the same time as reports of unusual lights in the sky or other strange aerial phenomena nearby. The remoteness of many national park areas, including huge stretches of the Rockies, is seen by some as the perfect cover for covert alien operations, including, in the darkest versions of this theory, abduction. The total lack of evidence left behind in some missing person cases is pointed to as being consistent with a technologically advanced, non-human perpetrator. Native American folklore and ancient mysteries also weave into paranormal interpretations. Many areas within the Rocky Mountains are sacred or hold deep spiritual significance for various indigenous tribes. These traditions often include stories of powerful spirits, guardians of the land, or places considered dangerous or forbidden, spots where humans shouldn't go, or where the veil between worlds is thin. Some paranormal theorists suggest that people who disappear might have unknowingly trespassed into these areas, disturbing ancient forces or entities, and that's what led to their inexplicable vanishing. These legends, passed down through generations, add this layer of ancient mystique and potential spiritual danger to an already formidable physical landscape. These paranormal theories, as diverse as they are, all share a common goal. They try to make sense of the senseless. They offer an explanation, however extraordinary, for cases where it seems like people have just been erased from existence. They tap into that primal fear of the unknown that the vast wild Rockies can so easily bring out in us, that feeling that these majestic peaks might indeed be hiding secrets far beyond what we can normally comprehend. So why do these paranormal theories about disappearances in the Rocky Mountains stick around? It's not like they just appear out of thin air. They refueled by a mix of things that really tap into our deepest anxieties about the unknown and the untamed. First off, there's the undeniable failure of conventional explanations in certain cases. When experienced hikers vanish from well-known trails when kids, disappear in the blink of an eye when huge multi-agency searches with trained pros dogs and aircraft turn up, absolutely nothing the standard answers. They got lost or they had an accident, start to feel pretty inadequate. Our minds craves resolution, and when logical answers dry up, the door swings open to less conventional, more unsettling possibilities. It is the sheer completeness of some disappearances that really fuels the speculation. It is as if the person just ceased to exist, rather than simply succumbing to the wilderness. The sheer wildness and immensity of the Rocky Mountains themselves play a huge part. These aren't your local manicured parks. They are vast expanses of rugged, often inaccessible terrain where nature is king. With 355 miles of hiking trails in Rocky Mountain National Park alone, and countless more unmarked, wild areas across the entire range, the potential for someone to get lost and stay lost is very, very real. This raw, untamed quality creates an environment where the line between what we know and what we don't can feel incredibly thin. It's a landscape that can make even the most rational person feel small and vulnerable, and where the idea of hidden forces or undiscovered phenomena doesn't seem quite so out there. Then you have the anecdotal accounts and eyewitness reports, no matter how sporadic or unverified they might be. Stories of strange lights in the sky, inexplicable sounds echoing through canyons, unsettling feelings of being watched in remote areas, or fleeting glimpses of unidentifiable figures or creatures. These accounts circulate among locals, hikers, and paranormal enthusiasts. While it's easy to dismiss them as misidentification, overactive imaginations, or just folklore, they add to this tapestry of mystery that surrounds the mountains. Each story, credible or not, reinforces the idea that there might be more to these peaks than we can see. And finally, there's that fundamental human need to find answers and meaning, especially when faced with tragedy and things that are profoundly inexplicable. When a loved one vanishes without a trace, the agony of not knowing can be unbearable. Paranormal theories, in a strange way, can offer a kind of narrative, a way to conceptualize an event that otherwise just doesn't make sense. They might not bring comfort in the usual way, but they can provide a framework, however unsettling, for something that feels utterly random and chaotic. The rugged terrain, the sudden and severe weather changes, the presence of wildlife, and the simple fact that even experienced people can make fatal mistakes. These are all very real dangers in the Rockies. Most search and rescue incidents are, tragically, due to these known hazards. Yet a small, persistent percentage of cases continue to baffle, to resist any easy explanation. And it's in this shadowy space that theories of the paranormal take root and endure, casting a long, chilling shadow over these majestic peaks. The mountains keep their secrets well, and the lingering dread comes from that unsettling possibility that some of those secrets are darker and stranger than we can comfortably imagine. The Rocky Mountains are a breathtaking testament to the raw power and untamed beauty of the natural world. They call out to the adventurer in us, the seeker of solitude, the admirer of true grandeur. Yet beneath this majestic surface, there's an undeniable current of mystery, a history of people who've stepped into their embrace and simply never returned. We've walked through some unsettling cases, from the historic vanishing of little Alfred Beilhartz to the more recent, equally baffling disappearances of experienced hikers like Rudi and James Pruitt. We've touched on those strange patterns suggested by Missing 411, researched and explored the chilling paranormal theories that whisper of interdimensional portals, elusive cryptids, and ancient unknown forces possibly lurking within these peaks. While logical explanations, tragic accidents, human error, the unforgiving wild account for many heartbreaking incidents in these lands, a core of deeply perplexing cases remains. These are the ones that fuel speculation and leave us with a profound sense of unease. The sheer vastness of the wilderness, the limits of our ability to search every remote nook and cranny, and the inherent dangers of the terrain definitely play a part. But for some, these explanations alone just don't quiet the nagging questions raised by the most inexplicable disappearances. Perhaps the truth is a complex tapestry, woven from threads of tragic accidents, human misjudgment, the raw power of nature, and for those who dare to wonder, maybe even elements that stretch the very boundaries of our known world. What is truly hidden in these peaks might forever remain a secret, locked away in the silent stone and whispering pines. The stories of the lost serve as a haunting reminder. The wilderness is vast, its power is immense, and it demands not only our admiration, but our deepest respect and caution. The Rocky Mountains will keep drawing us in with their beauty, but they will also undoubtedly continue to keep their most profound and chilling secrets. So, what do you think is behind these mysterious disappearances in the Rocky Mountains? Are there logical explanations we're just overlooking, or could something more unconventional be at play? I'd love to hear your theories and thoughts. Drop them in the comments below. If you found this journey into the unknown intriguing, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the strange, the dark, and the mysterious. Stay curious, and most importantly, stay safe out there.